All right, for 2-minute civics, we're going to go ahead and wrap up our 3.1, our types of government comparisons. So the last types of government are actually not types, but it's actually the number of rulers. So we're going to talk about two new vocab words, autocracy and oligarchy. Here we go. Autocracy is where one person rules. So a lot of kids, it's hard for them to remember that word. So I think of the word automobile and how many people are driving an automobile at one time is usually one, right? So one person rules. So an example of an autocracy could be a monarchy. A king is an autocrat, and a dictator can also be an autocrat because it's both one person ruling. The only difference here is how they get their power. So a dictator usually takes power by force, whereas a monarchy has inherited their power, like we talked about before. So if you see one person here and they're just hanging out and they say, yeah, I'm an autocrat, I'm an autocracy, well, do you know what kind of government they are? No, you'd have to ask them one question: how did you get your power? And then when they answer that, then you can determine what kind of autocrat they are. Okay, so that is an autocracy, one person rules. Then we have another word, it's called an oligarchy. A few people rule. So the only difference here is instead of having one, you might have a few. So think of it as like three, dictators, or three people from the same political party, or maybe they're three very rich plutocrats that are ruling the country or the area, but that would be an oligarchy, so when a few people rule. So we're gonna go ahead now and go through our list. We're gonna play a little game called, is it a democracy or is it an authoritarian government? Okay, so we're just gonna go right down our list and figure it out. Okay, so when you see democracy, the two types of democracies we said are direct and representative. So would that be a democracy or authoritarian? And the answer is those are democracies, so those are good. All right, and then you go to monarchy. Okay, so is a monarchy a democracy or authoritarian? Well, it really depends on which one you're talking about. So an absolute monarchy is definitely authoritarian because they have all the power, people don't really have a say. But a constitutional monarchy, kind of like what they have in England, that actually is a form of democracy because, again, usually the king doesn't have a lot of power anymore and they do still have to follow the laws. And remember, England actually has a queen, Queen Elizabeth. All right, so then we go to autocracy. Is that a democracy or authoritarian? The answer is authoritarian because, again, remember it's a monarchy or a dictator, or when one person rules, a tyrant, that could be another one, that's an autocracy. And then oligarchy, is that a democracy or authoritarian? Definitely authoritarian as well, because again, when these few people are ruling, they're not getting their power from the people. They usually take power by force. And that ends standard 3.1, comparing different types of government.